What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we've been focusing a lot of our attention on the super cheap Turbo Civic build, but today we're going to be taking a break from that and focus on the daily. So we've got my 2017 GMC 3500 Denali here, and we're going to be pulling the front bumper off it so that we can fix some issues with the fog lights, as well as space the bumper out to clear the bigger wheels without rubbing. So let's get through the intro and jump right into today's video. So now that we've gotten through the intro, let's go ahead and take a look at what we've got going on here. So as you guys can see, we decided to upgrade this thing to the SS3 fog lights. I got them from DIODE Dynamics, and they are super bright. They've been working really good for us. I haven't had any issues, but after we did have an accident with this truck a couple years back, and the insurance had to replace the bumper, they did the fog lights and stuff, and ever since then we've had issues with these things popping out. I kept losing the trim bezels that go around them. I ordered another set. They're sitting in the truck, but we've lost a couple of them because the little plastic clips in there aren't holding the light anymore. This side's even worse. You can see it's just flopping around. So for now, I've been putting duct tape on it just until we got some time to go ahead and do this. So what we're gonna do is go ahead, pull the whole front bumper off. We're going to see if we can get those clips from the dealer. If not, we'll make a bracket or make something so that they can mount up nice and solid, so we can get our trim rings back on there and get this thing looking good. But while we're at it, we are going to go ahead and space this bumper out. You can see it lines up pretty good here, and that's not the body shop's fault. They definitely were going off of what they think looks the best. It does look pretty good with it all lining up. But when I first got this truck, when it was factory, this line right here was way out here, so I think they either didn't put spacers on or they thought it was wonky or something, so they took them out. So we're gonna add some spacers. We might even go bigger than what was there so that we can get that out away from the tire, because as you can see, it's super close right now, and these things are more than halfway worn down. Also, when you hit a good bump or something, you can hear it come up and whack it. So that's the plan for today. We're gonna see what we need, what we've got to take apart to get this bumper off. I'm hoping we can do pretty much everything from underneath, but if we have to, we will go ahead and pull the grill and stuff out. So let's take a look, see what we're gonna need, get some tools out, and start ripping this thing apart. So one of the first things we're gonna do here is we're gonna go ahead and get this trim panel off so that we can get to our front grill. It's just a whole series of these little push pins. They pop out pretty easy. When we did all the underglow and stuff like that, this has all been apart a couple times. So I'm just gonna go through and use my little tool here and get these all ready to pop out, and then we'll come back through and pull this thing off. Just curious. Here, it's all right in here. And then on a stock truck, this will just pull off and you can set it out of the way. But as you can see, we've got lights behind the grill here. So I'm gonna go ahead and either try to move this back far enough, or probably just take them off so they're out of our way. So let's grab a Phillips and we'll pop those off. Lights out. Diesels, man. We haven't even touched anything engine wise and my hand's already sooty.
Yeah. There you go. Let's throw it inside.
So the next thing we've got to do to get this grill out of here is there's 4 bolts that run across the top. They're 10mm. So we're gonna use our gun. We'll go ahead and zap these out, and then we will unclip it, and the front grill should just pop right off. Now to get this grill off, where those bolts are, there's like a little nub. I've done this a few times. You just pull up on it a little bit and it will clear over the notch. like so. And then you just got to be careful with it. There's a series of clips. I don't want to break it. These things are breaking.
Yeah, I know. All of mine are broken on my truck. And big 2 holes in it.
Yeah, I remember. Where is it? I can't see it. Oh, there. Right. Got one.
You got that side? Yeah, that side then.
If your guys' stick, get like something in there to pry on it at the clip, because these grills will break.
There it goes. That's the one I was looking at. Actually, I was looking at this one, but it popped.
Yeah. So now we've got the grill off, so we're gonna go ahead and start loosening stuff up for the bumper. We went ahead and crawled under the truck here, and you can see this big brace. We're gonna go ahead, pop all 3 bolts out, this one, and then these 2. You can leave one of these if you want and let this hang, but I'm just gonna go ahead and get this right out of our way. We've got one on this side, one on the other side, and then right over here, you guys can see we've got a electrical plug, so we'll have to go ahead and get this unplugged. It's just got a little red lock on it right here that will slide back, squeeze it, and then unplug it. But let's go ahead and get the brackets out of our way, and then we'll worry about the wiring. These 3 bolts are 15 mil. We're gonna go ahead and pop them all out, and this bracket will come right out of our way. Now we've got this big support out. We can go to the other side and do the same thing. There we go. Now we've got this one out. Now we can get the electrical unplugged and get ready to pull this bumper. Got this little red lock right here that we've got to slide back just like that. And then we can go in here, push down. I push them together a little bit sometimes, and then they usually pull out easier. So we've got that unplugged. I'm gonna give it a once over real quick, make sure we don't have any added stuff here, and then we should be able to go back up top and pop this thing out. So we got everything disconnected down below. We've got our 18 mil there, and then there's another one down in there. Same thing on this side, you've got an 18 there, and down in that hole with the light bar in the way, it's hard to show you guys. But we're gonna pop those 4 out now, and this bumper should basically come right off.
This should come out.
Yeah, we'll do some nice and easy.
Yep, my side's coming.
Yep.
Just like that. Yep.
Perfect.
That way it's even better.
Bumper is off. So these are the clips I need. These things. So as you guys seen, we got the bumper off, came off pretty easily once we undid everything. So now that we're looking at it with the bumper out of our way, you can see that there's these big brackets that the bumper actually mounts to, and it's got 4 bolts holding it on both sides. And we're thinking to space this thing out, our easiest point of attack is gonna be to pop those 4 bolts out and then put a spacer between here, because then all of our mounts will still line up. The only ones we might have issue with is the lower support rods that go across to each side, but we should be able to make those work, bend them, whatever we got to do, or worst case scenario, we can make our own supports. So I think we've got that pretty much figured out. That's the plan for now. We just got to decide how far we want to space it and if we need longer bolts and stuff. But on to the other part of the project, and the main reason for us taking this whole truck apart today is the fog lights. So like I said, this video is about pulling the bumper, but also if you're trying to install aftermarket fog lights, this video will still pertain to you. We decided to go with the Diode Dynamics. I believe they are the SS3, their brightest option that they offer. And let me tell you, these things are ridiculously bright. You can drive around with no other lights except for those if you wanted to, and it's perfectly fine. So I've been super happy with the lights, but ever since the accident and when we had them installed, I've had issues with them coming loose on us or wiggling around and losing the bezels because the light will hang a little bit. So I'm going to show you guys what we've got going on here. As you can see, I've got duct tape holding this one in because I got tired of buying the bezels. We do have another set for once we get it fixed, but it had duct tape holding it for now. So these are the actual pods, and then they have a round bezel that goes around them to make them look nice. And we went ahead and popped this one out so that I could show you guys. The only thing that holds these in is they have the bracket right here that they mount to so that you can angle them where you want. But then this bracket is designed to go right into the factory location, and it's just got these little nubs that are received by those little plastic clips. And I'm not sure if they got broken at the body shop when they put the new bumper on, or if they just put this silicone in here because they were having issues with them staying as well. So I think the first thing we're gonna go ahead and try is tracking some of these factory clips down from the dealer, some nice new ones that should hold onto this thing nice and tight. And then we can get that all apart, get those in, put the fog light back in. Hopefully it'll hold it nice and tight. I'm gonna have to clean all of this goo from the duct tape off of it. Hopefully that comes off. Get this thing all back together, and we should have some nice looking fog lights again, because right now they look pretty trashy with the duct tape holding them, and it's been like that for quite a while. Let's go ahead, figure out if we can track down some of those parts, work on getting those bumper brackets off and making some spacers, and we'll track down some new bolts. So we're gonna take one side off so that we can figure out spacers and longer bolts and everything, and then once we get everything figured out, we'll take off the other side. But all you need is a 15mm socket. We can pop these free. Now all we've got to do is put a spacer behind it. So as you guys can see, we've got this bracket going back on, and what we decided to do was, instead of cutting down a piece of pipe to put in there for a spacer or trying to find a spacer, we wanted an inch. So we found some hardware at the local hardware store. With the nut and this washer, it comes out to exactly an inch of thickness. So we're gonna have a washer, the nut, and then our bolt, our bracket, and then another washer. So basically the bracket's right here, and then this is gonna go just like that, and effectively this is going to space our bumper out exactly an inch. Like I said, we decided to do this instead of cutting down pipe because I feel like this is going to be more exact. These are going to be the same for all 8, instead of me cutting down the pipe on our bandsaw, and it might be off a little bit. Not that it would matter, but this is just how we decided to do it. So we're going to go ahead, get these 4 on, and then we can move over to the other side.
Get them snug almost. Yeah, that'll line that right up. Move quite a bit. I think I'm good. Good.
Alright, that's all we need.
All you need.
Pretty close. That's pretty close. What do you think? It looks pretty close to me.
Looks close to me.
So as you seen yesterday, we got our spacers made. Everything is spaced out. Use those nuts in the washers. It's looking pretty good. We got them lined up about where we think it needs to be. So that's a plus. We are pretty much done spacing the bumper. Now we're moved on to working with those fog lights. Like I've said a couple times, these are the SS3 Max from DIODE Dynamics, and they come with a little kit. As you can see right here, they have a bracketry to them so that you attach the bracket so that you can aim them and place them where you want them. And then these snap into the factory style clips. We went ahead and ordered some new clips, picked them up at our local GM dealership this morning. They're just simple little plastic clips that should hold those in place so they don't fall out, so that we don't lose the trim ring that goes around them. Now I'm gonna warn you, these clips are pretty expensive for what they are. I think they were like 56 bucks just for those little pieces of plastic. But now that we have them, we can go ahead and pop them back into the place that they belong. These 3 holes right here. They just simply pop in. Then our fog lights will clip into that. We've got this trim bezel that we're gonna line up in there and put in, and it'll hide everything. So it pretty much looks like a factory fog light when you're done, except for the face of it, and they are extremely bright. So I've been super happy with them. But let's go ahead, get this bumper wrapped up, get everything back together so that we can start setting it back on the truck and see how our spacers work. So they simply just pop right into place. You just push them in and they will clip just like that. Just like that. So now we can go ahead, I'm gonna put this trim piece back on, and then we will get ready to set up our fog lights and get those set in there. So these trim pieces will only go in one way. They have little clips just like so. They'll clip into place just like that. So we've got our new clips in, our bezel's on this side, and we're gonna go ahead and pop our fog light back in. There we go.
Is it in?
Yeah. See, that one popped in nice, firm, and tight. Whereas before, they were pretty extremely sloppy, honestly, and that's probably why they kept falling out, because that feels a lot firmer. So now we can go ahead, get those plugged in, go on to the other side, do the same thing, and then we can move on to getting the bumper installed. Gonna go ahead and set our bumper on and get 2 bolts started, and then we'll worry about getting it lined up where we want. Hold it right there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to tighten our 4 top bolts. We got the 2 uppers and then 2 lowers, and then we will go ahead, grab our grill, set it on, and just make sure everything fits, because we did come up a little bit with the bumper to try to hide some of this gap a little. So we're going to go ahead and get these snug down, and then we will move on to the grill.
That's all for adjustments.
Alright, we've got these 4 bolts tight. We're going to go ahead, cut these zip ties, get our grill back on, and make sure everything lines up how we want. And we can go ahead and set our grill on, make sure this is going to fit right. Yeah. Alright, everything looks good, so we're going to go ahead and pop our grill in, start in the middle. Grill pops right in place like so.
Lined up
Make
perfect.
sure your bolts are all lined up. And that's on. I think we're pretty much good there. Now we can go underneath, put on any final braces, make sure everything's plugged in, and then get our fog lights dialed in. All right. Make sure you slide that little red clip in so that it locks. Get that mounted up in place and we are good to go under here. So as you guys can see, we've got the grill back on. Everything is looking pretty good. Now you might notice that the gap's a little better than the last clip. Me and Dad did decide to pop it all back apart and go all the way up with those two main brackets, the 4 bolts on each. We decided to go all the way up with it to try to seal up some of that gap, because you're gonna get a gap from pulling the bumper out. There's nothing you can do about that. If you're gonna go out with the bumper, you are gonna increase the gap there. But we tried to cover that up by going up with the bumper, and it definitely worked. It might not pick it up as much on camera, but here in person, you could tell a huge difference before. It kind of looked out of place, but now it blends in a lot better. Still not as perfect of a body line as you're gonna have factory, but again, that's because we moved the bumper out. So there's nothing you can really do to make that 100% perfect. But as you can see here, we definitely picked up a good amount of room. This doesn't line up with this anymore, which is fine. That doesn't bother me because it's going to give us extra room for these wheels. So I'm happy with that. We're going to pop our little covers back in there, or our little fender wells, get those popped back in. And now we can go ahead, throw the bolts back up in here for the grill, get all 4 of those on, start putting our underglow back together on that panel, get the panel back on, and then make sure everything's gonna work, and we can put our bezels back together for our fog lights. So let's get this thing wrapped up and looking good. Start in the middle here. Now that we got our lights mounted, we set our panel on here, and we can just go ahead and slap all of these little push pins back in where they belong, for a total of 12 of these little clips. They're back in, and now our panel is on and secure, and we are good to go. I'm just gonna wipe some fingerprints off of this real quick, then I'll show you guys the last few things we've got to do. So we've eyeball aimed the Diode Dynamics fog lights about where we want them to be. So now we've got our little trim piece that's gonna clip in there. They are side specific, and they do go a certain way. They go just like that. Just like that, and now we can slap the other one on, and we have one more trim piece that's going to go on here to try to conceal that a little better and make it look nice and clean. So we've got our last little trim beauty ring here. This is just going to simply clip over the light. This all comes in the fog light kit, and it's just going to simply clip right on and try to conceal them and make them look a little bit cleaner and more factory. So we're just going to go ahead, pop them on just like so. As you can see, we've still got a touch of a gap, but that's because we have ours aimed down a little bit, and you can adjust the screw on them and move the lights in a little bit, but for us that's going to be perfectly fine. So we're going to rock with it. I think it came out pretty good. They look good, and a little bit later when it gets dark, I'll make sure to show you guys those things in action. We're going to fire this thing up and check and make sure that our Diode Dynamic fog lights are working, and then we're going to turn the wheel full lock both ways and check how much more room we have between the tire and the bumper than we had before. Alright, our fog lights are working, so let's go ahead and check the gap between the wheel and the bumper.
Right there. Oh yeah, much better. Much better.
Oh yeah, a lot more room. Alright guys, taking this thing for a ride, and on this bump right here, it would always hit the bumper, so definitely helped that situation. Drove it around a little bit, and I haven't heard any of the tire contacting the front bumper, so that's definitely a huge plus. But let's get down on one of these roads that don't have many lights, and we will try out these fog lights, and I'll show you guys just how bright they actually are. Right now we're running with just our normal headlights on low beams, We also have the Dynamics HID kit on this truck. This truck originally came with HIDs from the factory, but I put aftermarket upgraded headlights in this, the ones with the outline that I liked, and those came with a regular style bulb. So instead of putting an LED in there, I wanted to put it back to like how the factory was, so we decided to go with an HID kit. So that's what we decided to do, and they are pretty bright, they're pretty decent, but the fog lights are pretty impressive as well. So we'll give it a second here. Try to find a spot that doesn't have any street lights. Then we'll turn off our headlights and just run the fog lights for a second. All right, so when we come out of this corner here, I'll turn our headlights off and turn just the fog lights on. Of course, we're gonna have another car coming. All right, so this is headlights off, just fog lights. This is just my fog lights right now. They're extremely bright. Like I said, they are the brightest option from Diode Dynamics. But then if we turn our headlights back on, now we've got headlights and our fog lights on. I know it's kind of hard to tell with that car right there. But these are with the headlights and the fog lights on. And then we have the all lights on module. So if you kick that, it's our fog lights, our high beams, and our light bar all on at the same time. Extremely bright, basically like daylight. I'm not sure how great it is picking it up on camera here, but in person it's literally like driving during the day. I do like having my light bar wired into my high beam switch. You can go ahead and cycle it just like you would your high beams, and it does my high beams and my light bar. So it's just nice. I used to have the light bar on a separate button, but I constantly forgot to turn it off or was fumbling trying to find the button. So we just wired it in this way. But again, this is headlights and fog lights. That's just fog lights. That's again headlights, fog lights, and then light bar with everything. So it is pretty bright. I've been super happy with these fog lights. So if you guys are on the edge, they're definitely a million times brighter than the factory ones were. So go ahead, drive around here for a second, and we will head back to the house, make sure our covers and everything stayed on, our beauty rings, take a look at this thing, and make sure we are good to go. So there you have it, guys. It is that easy to pull the front bumper off of one of these Sierras or Silverados of this body style. I was actually really impressed with how easy the bumper came off and with how easy it went back on. Now, if you are just doing the fog lights, you don't actually need to pull the bumper off. But since we were pulling ours, I figured it was a great time to showcase the Diode Dynamic fog lights because they have worked perfectly for us in the past and they are extremely bright. I've been super happy with them and wasn't doing videos when we originally installed them, so I figured I would take this opportunity to show them to you guys because, like I said, I couldn't be happier with them. Extremely bright. So if you guys are in the market for a set of those fog lights, don't worry, you don't have to pull the bumper off. They actually install very easily and plug right into the factory wiring. So as always, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, and check us out on all of our other social media platforms, Facebook, TikTok, and Bought to Build Official on Instagram. And we will catch you on the next one.